Joel Lovelace. He is going to introduce our plenary session speaker. Joel is a member of WAEPA's board of directors. He's served and recently retired from federal service as the director of the Office of Program Planning, Evaluation, and Management. That's a long title, Joel. That's a big title. It's a big job. At the EBS, which we call it, but it's the Employee Benefit Security Administration. He did that for 8 years. As director, he provided advice, leadership in the development and implementation of agency policy, strategic planning, financial management, budgeting, human resources, and administrative programs. He served in various other leadership roles during his 32 years of government service and was appointed to the SCS Senior Executive Service in 2012. Everyone, please welcome Joel Lovelace.
Let me take just a second. I joined the board a little over a year ago, and let me thank the WAEPA membership for having the confidence in me to elect me to this leadership position. I've been amazed in working with Shane, his vision, and the health of this this organization. And you saw the leadership board up here, and I'm sure if they had more time, they'd also speak. There's a lot of people that work under them on the staff of the WAEPA organization, and very, very competent, very, very professional. And I've watched for 32 years, I've worked with a lot of executives, a lot of organizations, and WAEPA certainly is healthy, and I can concur. I hope they're here another 100 years too. And I'm certainly, if they have the staff and Shane stays for the next 100 years, they will definitely be able to deliver on that. Now today, it's my privilege and honor to get to recognize the keynote speaker. If you've lived in Washington for any length of time, you know this person's an icon in Washington. They actually call Washington their home. Mr. Theismann, I want to talk to him about as an individual for a second, but he was the NFL's MVP in 1983. So you think when you're in a professional sport, you're already one of the best of the best. But when you get into that league, the best of the best once a year get ranked as MVPs. And Joe was an MVP in 1983. So that meant his peers and the writers thought he was the best of the best of the best. And I know he's a genuinely nice individual too. I got to talk to him behind the scenes here when I walked up. He had a very successful career at Notre Dame. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He was twice named, again, in the Pro Bowl. This is the best of the best playing at the end of the year, the MVP of the Pro Bowl game, not once, but twice. So that tells you what people think of him and his playing skill. Another area he likes to recognize is he was NFL's Man of the Year. Now, the Man of the Year today is called the Peyton Award, but that's about your philanthropy. It's about your impact on your local city. And it's nice to be named NFL Player of the Year once, or Man of the Year once. He was named twice, so that tells you that he really puts a lot of effort into the impact on his local community and is recognized by his peers as being very philanthropic and giving back. And we like to see that in our professional sports icons. He led Washington to 2 Super Bowls, won a championship, number 17, and then in the blink of an eye, and if you're old enough to remember this, and I certainly do, he was severely injured on Monday Night Football. And at that time, his career ended. Now, what did Joe do? He stepped back, he thought for a minute. There was an adverse situation here. He analyzed, he knew football, and he turned his career into a 2-decade Emmy Award-winning TV analyst. Now, we get to see him today on NFL products, and he speaks a lot about the NFL, and he works for certain TV stations and stuff. So we get to see him on the radio, we get to see him on TV, and he's a genuinely nice individual. So I want to bring him up here, and let's all give a warm round of applause to our legendary quarterback, Joe Theismann.
Thank you, Joel. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, those that we're being streamed to, good morning to you. Go get another cup of coffee. Enjoy yourselves. I'm going to spend about 45 minutes chatting with you, and then I'm going to open the floor to some questions if anybody has any. The first one will be, how about the Commanders? I'll deal with that later, okay? Thank you very much. But first of all, I want to congratulate each and every one of you for choosing your service your civil service as federal employees, to be able to go out and do something to help others. You're in a unique situation. I mean, we deal with a lot of change, and yet you've been able to channel all of the energy that you've put together to give yourself an opportunity to go out and help others. So I thank you so much for your time, for everybody here present today and for those watching and listening out there. You know, the pandemic affected our lives in a very unique way, I think. All of us look back at the 2020, 2021 years, and we really question an awful lot of things in our lives. And I really look at it this way. I contend that if the pandemic had not occurred, we probably would be doing the exact same things that we did up until that period of time. And then all of a sudden, our life was thrown upside down. Our lives were thrown upside down. And now all of a sudden, we had to start over. And we had to take a look at our business relationships, our personal relationships. But really, one of the most important things we had to do was take a look at the relationship that we have with ourselves. I think all of us were forced to take a step back and say, who am I? What do I want to do? What's the directions I want to go in? Now, to me, they call that change. And we deal with the challenge of change, and that's sort of the topic that I'm going to talk about. But really, this is more about you, the ability, being civil servants, being able to do the things that you do, but to you as individuals. So it's going to be us having a little bit of a fireside chat about my life and some of the things that have affected my life, and maybe they'll affect yours in a similar way. Maybe you'll step back after today and say, there are things that Joe said I'd like to look at. I'm not going to tell you how to be successful, because that's not my responsibility. You determine your success. As a matter of fact, I'll ask you this question right now. I would love for everybody out there, both here after you leave here and those that are watching streaming, how do you define success? How do you define success? I mean, is it through your business? Is it through your relationships? Is it through your family? How do you define success? It's a great opportunity to be able to understand that. And I think Shane's done a fantastic job in leading the organization and doing a great job that you've done. And I want to thank the panel so much for someone who really knew nothing to be informed so well by you. I thank you so much. But like I say, you talk about exactly what we're going through in our lives and the changes that have to happen, but how do you define success? And then I look back over that period of time and I said, you know, there are changes that have occurred in our lives. Matter of fact, I've had 2 changes that have occurred in my life, 2 very significant ones. First of all, Joel's kind enough to introduce me as Joe Theismann. I appreciate that. But I'm not Joe Theismann. I'm actually Joe Theismann from South River, New Jersey. My name was changed back in 1970 when I was a senior at the University of Notre Dame. Many people know it, some don't, so I'll inform you of it. When I was beginning of my senior year, I had a really good junior year at the university. Beginning of my senior year, our sports information director calls me in the office. He says, Joe, how do you pronounce your last name? I said, it's Theismann. He said, no, it's not. Your last name is actually pronounced Theismann. I said, no, it's not. My last name is pronounced Theismann. He said, no, Joe, your last name is pronounced Theismann. I said, it is not. Give me the phone. I picked up the phone, called my dad back home in New Jersey. Anytime I ever dialed my father up for any question, he'd always say, fire away, son. So I get my dad on the phone. I said, Pop, I got this question for you. He says, fire away, Joe. I said, Dad, tell me, how do you pronounce our last name? Dead silence on the phone. About 30 seconds goes by. My dad comes on. He says, son, are you all right? You're a senior in college. You know who you are. What have you been doing for the last 3 years? I said, Dad, that's it. Please just tell me, how do you pronounce our last name? I'll explain it later. He said it was Theismann. Turned to Mr. Valdesari, our public relations director. I said, Roger, my last name is Theismann. I know. I just go phone my dad. He said, Joe, I want to tell you something. There's a trophy out there called the Heisman Trophy. Goes to the best college football player in the country. We think you have a chance to win that trophy, but we're not just going to count on your athletic ability. Heck no. We're not even count on the reputation of the University of Notre Dame, but we think by just simply changing the pronunciation of your last name from Theismann to Theismann to rhyme with Heisman, we can guarantee you that trophy. And so, you know, we all have to morph and go through change. That was a big change in my life. A brand was created 51 years ago. 51 years ago, a brand was created. When you think about how it affects your life, how it affects your history. Now, people ask me all the time, you know, what's your family called? Well, when I get back home to Jersey, anybody that lives in New Jersey, their last name always ends in Y. It's Tommy, Joey, Bobby, Billy. Everybody's name is Y. And we always talk fast. That's part of growing up in New Jersey. But I'm Joey Theismann when I go home. And I'm flattered by it. As a matter of fact, the NFL Films, NFL Network did something a month ago. They made a football life on me, which I'm very proud of. But it took me back to my hometown where I had a chance to spend some time with one of my dear friends, Drew Pearson, the Hall of Famer now with the Dallas Cowboys. Drew was my wide receiver in high school. And we had a chance to go back to the high school field and walk around it and look at how things have changed over such a long period of time, how the weeds have grown, how the fences have sort of come down a little bit. But yet it's home. And I think all of us look at that. And now some of you are sitting in your home or in an office somewhere and being able to enjoy it. But that was the first real, quote unquote, opportunity change that occurred in my life. And you're going to hear the word opportunity from me quite a bit because I believe that every situation in our life is an opportunity. So the second one occurred November 18th, 1985. It was a night when the Washington football team played the New York Giants on Monday Night TV. Now, Joel's kind enough to go through some of the accolades that I managed to achieve in the world of professional football. But along with that position as a leader of a football team and as leaders of organizations, sometimes your ego gets the best of you. Sometimes you think you're pretty darn good. Sometimes you look at everything and say, you know, it's because of me things are happening. And I became that way. I got self-absorbed to a degree until November 18th, 1985. I'll never forget walking into my locker and sitting down. And we were in the midst of a lousy season, 4-5. I wasn't playing well. And I did the same thing that every one of us in this room and every one of you out there watching did. I had a heart-to-heart with Joe Theismann. I guarantee you've done it. Over the last 2-3 years, you've sat there and said, what's out there for me? Yes, I want to commit myself to civil service. Yes, I want to be able to do the right things. But can I continue to do it? How am I going to be able to support it? The insurance is such a wonderful thing to have. And I sat there and I looked at that wall and I said, all right, Joe, it's the Giants. It's Monday Night TV. This is your opportunity to be able to go out and show the world that Joe Theismann that you love so much is back. I got up from my locker and I started at the locker room. Now, in this room, there's an exit sign. Below that exit sign, we had that logo that represented our football team. For 12 years, as I left that locker room, I hit that logo. So I'm superstitious, never said a word. But on this night, for some reason, I got up from my locker. I started at that locker room. I hit that logo and I uttered these words. Tonight, your life's going to change, Joe. Little did I realize I was into prophecy. My world was about to change like I could never imagine. Went out on that field, 7 for 10, threw a touchdown pass. Figured, look out, world, Joey's back. The Joe Theismann that I love so much is back. We turned to start the second quarter. Coach Gibbs calls a flea flicker. Some of you may or may not understand the vernacular of football. Explain what a flea flicker is. I got up under the center. I took the snap, turned around, hand the ball to John Riggins, our Hall of Fame fullback. John starts towards the line. Just before he gets there, he freezes. The Giants should all be up here trying to tackle John. He turns around, pitches the ball back to me. I look down the field where should be a wide open Art Monk. He was covered. I looked to my right for my safety valve, Donnie Warren. He was covered. And then all of a sudden, I felt pressure from the left side. It was Lawrence Taylor. He grabbed my left shoulder. I swung around. He wouldn't let go. And as LT came around, his right leg caught my right leg between the knee and the ankle. And right off to the left where that screen sits, I heard a pow, pow. Sound like 2 muzzled gunshots, but actually my right leg breaking. I had an open compound fracture in my lower right leg. Later on in the field, seemed like it was an eternity. It was only about 5 minutes. As I opened my eyes, standing above me was Bill Parcells, the then coach of the Giants. Bill's looking down at me going, Joe, I'm sorry. I'm going, Bill, so am I. Joe Gibbs comes running out, kneels down, looks in my eyes. He says, Joe, for 6 years we've been together. Joe, you've meant so much to this football team. Joe, this is a heck of a mess you've left me in. I said, I'm sorry. Within 5 minutes of breaking my leg, I've seen 2 people. I've apologized to both of them. Then they start to wheel me out of that stadium, and 55,000 people stood up and gave this selfish man an ovation like he'd never heard before in his life. Some of you out there may have been there. 55,000 people said thank you to a man who thought he needed absolutely no one. Ladies and gentlemen, I tell you this, you cannot, will not, nor ever hope to be a true success in life if you think you do it by yourself. That's why your board of directors, your leadership group, your leaders, it's so important that you all work together. And you do so many wonderful things for so many people. But you have to continue to do that. And then I had an interesting situation one day. A buddy of mine came up to me and he said, Joe, you think you're a success? You think you've been a success? That's why I ask you to write down your definition of success. I said, well, I spent 15 years playing professional football, and we had a degree of success and, won a championship and had a few accomplishments. I said, yeah, I guess. Spent 23 years in broadcasting, teaching people about the game of football, helping them understand it so they can enjoy it a little bit more. I said, yeah. And I've been speaking to groups for over 40 years, sharing stories, asking them to look at their lives through some of the things that have happened in mine. So I said, I think I am. He said, actually, Joe, those were aspirations. You aspired to be a great football player. You aspired to go out and win championships. You aspired to lead a football team. You aspired in the world of broadcasting to teach people about the game, help them understand it so they could enjoy it more. And you aspired through your speeches to share stories with people so they can look at their lives. As a matter of fact, for those that are here, I wrote a book called How to Be a Champion Every Day. It's the relationship between the world of sports, the world of business, and our own lives. Those were aspirations, though, Joe. And this is what he said, and this is what I love. He said, true success comes when you reach a certain point in your life and you start giving back. It is so applicable to you today. The choices that you have made, the callings that you have to be able to help others. And I thank you for that. So that's true success. And then when I got hurt, it's an interesting world. Now, you see the world of economics in football today. Aaron Rodgers, $50 million a year. Bryce Harper with the Phillies, $400 million a year. Patrick Mahomes was one of the first big contracts, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. $400+ million he signed. You know what he did when he signed that contract? He bought a piece of the Kansas City Royals. In 1984, I was the fourth highest paid player in the National Football League at $1 million a year. Fourth highest paid player at that time. I went out and I sponsored a Little League football team up in Leesburg, Virginia. So both Patrick and I both sponsored sports organizations, so I feel just like Patrick Mahomes when it came to giving out stuff like that. But the numbers have changed, but yet I think it's great. I think everybody should have the opportunity to earn everything they possibly can in their life. If you can get it, go get it. Good for you. Way to go. And then for me in 1985, I'm making $1 million. Then all of a sudden I get hurt. And because of an agreement with the National Football League that said, if you're hurt in a certain year, you get your salary. But if you can't play in a subsequent year, you get one half your salary, or up to $65,000. So in 1986, I took a $935,000 pay cut. My life changed completely. My perspective of life changed. I'd sort of become self-absorbed as an individual. I really didn't understand the world of business. But I came out of the world of football. I came out of a world of competition and athletics. And I had great mentors. George Allen was the first coach who brought me here to Washington. Traded a #1 pick to the Miami Dolphins for my rights. Jack Pardee coached here for 3 years, from 78 to 80. Jack gave me a chance to start as a quarterback. And then Coach Gibbs came in 81 and put together an offense that allowed me to do the things that I needed to do to help us become successful. So I had great mentors and teachers of the game for me. And so I went back to the world of sports. Says, what can I take from the world of sports and apply to my life now that it's over in the world of business, and also become a better person? That's what I'd like to share a little bit with you today. First thing I thought about was goals. Coaches stand at podiums just like this. They write down offensive goals, defensive goals, special team goals. Every one of them is written down on an overhead. In all the businesses, and what we just looked at slides of what you want to accomplish. Everything is written down. It's all written down. And then I was flying one day, interestingly enough. And I read an article that said 98% of the people in this world today refuse to take a pen in hand and write down a goal. Well, in sports, we write them down. You walk in any locker room, you'll see them. In business, everybody has a business meeting. And yet in our own lives, we don't take the time to write down what we want. I ask you to do this over the next 2 weeks of your life, not 1 but 2. Take a pen in hand, not a pencil. What do you want? What do you want? Personally, professionally, spiritually, and financially. What are you looking for in life? Write them down. You'll be amazed how your life starts to go in that direction, because now you've given it direction. You're no longer a rudderless ship just letting the currents of life take you from one place to the next. Take the time to write something down. What do you want? And then what price are we willing to pay to be special? I look around this room. As small as an audience as we have, every one of you is special. Everyone out there is special. I don't see average anywhere. I see unique, special people who are willing to commit themselves to a cause because they believe in it, because they want to give themselves a purpose in life. And I thank you for that. And so I think of, what price do you want to pay to be special? Ronnie Lott, the great safety of the San Francisco 49ers. End of the 85 season, Ronnie was an 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time world champion. End of the 85 season, he breaks a little finger on his hand. Doctor says, Ronnie, we operate on that. You're going to miss a shot at the playoffs, probably another Super Bowl. So what's my option? So we can amputate the upper part of your finger and you can continue to play. What do you want to do? Without hesitation, he says, cut it off. Yeah, sure. You hear that story, right? So I saw him someplace, I saw him at a golf tournament. I said, Ronnie, let me see your left hand. Yep, 9 2/3 fingers. Top of the pinky gone. My first favorite word is opportunity. My second is why. I think we all need to know why. So I asked him, I said, why? Why'd you do this? Why'd you cut your finger off? He said, Joe, they wanted me to miss a day of work. He gave up a piece of himself, not figuratively, but literally, to do the thing that he loved, to play the game. You have to be passionate about the things you love. And I know all of you are, or else you would have chosen the profession that you're in. But passion is such a big part of it. What price are we willing to pay to be special? I think in 1981, here in the city of Washington, Joe Gibbs takes over as our football head coach. Jack had been fired and Joe took over in 81. We were 0-5. I was his quarterback. But I wasn't his. I was someone else's. We've all gone through transitions where you move into a different organization and you're not that person. You're not theirs. They didn't choose you. And you have to prove yourself. So we're 0-5. They're not going to fire Joe. Joe's going to bench me. We lose to the San Francisco 49ers. I drive to Joe's house after the game. And Coach Gibbs used to sleep at the ballpark 3 nights a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He slept there. Sunday rolls around, he's exhausted. So here comes good old Joe walking up to the house. He opens the door and he goes, oh. I said, Coach, we need to talk. You ever sit in a meeting and you get the sense that the meeting is going on, but the individual there giving the meeting isn't really talking to you, but they're talking sort of to a group? Well, when you've got 3 quarterbacks, it's a very limited group. And I happen to be the starter, and I felt like we didn't communicate very well. Communication is so vitally important. So I sat down with Coach and I said, Coach, we're just not communicating. He says, Joe, you have restaurants, you have TV shows, you have radio shows. We used to have a newspaper. The football team had a newspaper. I own that. I own the newspaper for the football team. I had all these things going on. He said, I need somebody who's committed to be 100% my quarterback. I says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get rid of everything if you want. But give me a chance before I have to do that. And from the 6th game of 1981, we went 8-3, 16-3, won a world championship, and then went on, and I was 11-5, and then I got hurt at 4-5. So the success happened when somebody made a little bit of a change. But what price was I willing to pay? I went to the man's house because being quarterback in this city was important to me. I wanted to be the quarterback of this football team. And it seemed, and I played with a great bunch of people. I mean, we all know, Shane, you know that, Shane. If you don't have a great staff, you can't do everything yourself. It's like, think of championships. Tom Brady has 7 world championships. Troy Aikman has 4. Terry Bradshaw has 4. Aikman's got 3. Montana has 4. Nobody ever refers to the team. They always refer to the quarterback. It's like in this town. Washington won 3 world championships, but one's Doug Williams, one's Mark Rippon, one's Joe Theismann. They're ours. It's funny how you associate them that way. So it goes with that. It goes with that role of leadership. And I wanted to be that one here. So the first thing I did is I wrote down some goals. What are the things that I wanted? Then I had to work on my attitude. Because like I said, I needed an attitude adjustment. Attitudes precede everything we do in our lives. Like I said, I got a little bit full of myself, and I've had different situations where people have humbled me. I was speaking about 8-9 years ago. 3,000 people in the audience, black tie affair. I'm seated at the dais feeling mighty darned important. They bring out my entree, baked potato, 6 rolls. They give me 1 pat of butter. I'm decent at management, not that good. Take the butter, throw it on the potato, turn the kid behind me and say, excuse me, I'd like another pat of butter. He says, no. I said, whoa, time out. I am Joe Theismann. See, all these people have come to me speak. I want another pat of butter. He said, sir, I know who you are. You're a great football player. I said, thank you very much. He said, you were MVP of the National Football League. I said, thank you very much. He said, you won a Super Bowl. I said, thank you very much. He said, sir, do you know who I am? I said, no, I don't. He said, I'm the kid in charge of the butter. You get 1 pat of butter. So we find different ways in our lives to get humbled. You never know exactly how you're going to get humbled in your life. But it happens from time to time. And like I say, attitudes precede everything we do in our life. When's the last time you congratulated yourself? When's the last time you congratulated yourself? Think of it. You got up this morning. You walked in the bathroom. You threw the light switch on. You looked in the mirror. What were the first words out of your mouth? Oh, God. You didn't walk in that bathroom, throw the light switch on, and go, woo! Ha, that's different. It's okay to like who you are. In my book, I quote my mom. I call them momisms. I think we all think of things that our parents have shared with us over time. We didn't pay any attention to them. And then all of a sudden we get a little bit older, and those things that mom and dad told us and advised us, all of a sudden now they start resonating. And my mother used to tell me this, Joey, you can never be happy with anyone until you're happy with who you are as a person. So like yourself. Don't let somebody tell you that you have to do something. You have to look like this. You have to be like that. You have to act like that. Be you. If they don't like you for you, that's their problem, not yours. So be you. So that's the first thing. Congratulate yourself. I think if you're going to do something in life, you have to have enthusiasm. You have to have a passion for it. You know, playing at old RFK Stadium was something special. She's an old girl now. She's rusty. She's fallen apart. I was down there as part of the filming of the Football Life. Lawrence Taylor actually came into town, and we walked around down there. And it was almost majestic to walk into that stadium, to walk down that tunnel, and to walk out on that field and look around. And you know, it's funny in life when you go someplace, you can hear the sounds, you can smell the smells. It comes back to you. Our senses are so acute that way. I mean, I just stood there. It was unbelievable to be able to go back down there. But I could see the seats were from me to you, Joel. I mean, that's the end zone. There's the fans. We're right there. I used to talk to Drew about this all the time. Cowboys hated coming to our place. Everybody hated coming to our place because of people like you, our fans. They made it so special. But, I mean, and so the enthusiasm was so wonderful. And then when I got hurt, I got introspective. I needed to do something in my life. I took a look at my life, and because people accuse me of being cocky and egotistical. But I believe this, that if you don't believe in who you are, who's going to believe in you? But maybe I took it to a level I shouldn't have. But I wanted to know why. Why did I believe in my abilities? So I broke it down into different areas. First was anticipation. I used to get up under a center. I could look out, see a safety shaded to the right a little bit. I could anticipate the role of the defense. Drop back, plant my foot, fire the ball out to the left, one-on-one coverage, anticipating the role of the defense. As we look forward, it's a little bit more difficult to anticipate what's going on, especially in our city here. But you can anticipate to a degree. Certainly you can, as civil servants, anticipate that you're going to continue to do what you do. So anticipation. Education. Every day we want to grow. We were informed today. My favorite saying, the day you stop learning is the day you stop living. You need to know more today than you knew yesterday. You need to know more tomorrow than you know today. I look at life as a ladder without a top rung. Each day you go one rung at a time. Each day you keep getting more and more knowledge, more and more knowledge. I've been around the biggest people in the world. You want to see something funny? Take a look at a picture of Joe Theismann and Andre the Giant. You can Google it. Andre was 7'4". He holds me in his arm like a baby. I've been around the richest people in the world. I've been the heads of state, our presidents, different individuals. I've been around the most powerful people in the world. Those people that impress me, though, really, those of knowledge. Those of knowledge. Those people who understand and know. You just sit there and you just get sucked into who they are. The knowledge, the education, the expertise that they share. It's an incredible experience. So anticipate, educate, work hard. Tom Watson, the founder of IBM, once said this: you work the first 8 hours of the day for survival. Everything after that's an investment in your future. You anticipate, you educate, you work hard. Gives you a chance to step outside that silo that we've created. We all create silos for ourselves. We all operate in that little box. I'm going to ask you to do something for me now. I'm going to show you how you can step outside that mental box. Everybody fold your arms for me. Please, even as you're watching streaming, just fold your arms for me. Now, please fold them the other way. That's close, Shane. It's pretty close. It's pretty good. But it's amazing. See, I ask you to fight in the back of the room. You're still working on it. I mean, consider this a home study course. Some of you are already there doing it. Fact of the matter is, I ask you to fold your arms. You do it comfortably and naturally. I ask you to fold it the other way. Is it wrong? No, you know what it is? It's different. I've asked you to do something different. Your mind has to do something different now. So don't be afraid to step outside the box. I took a chance. 1985, we played the Chicago Bears in Soldiers Field. Unbelievable football team. Incredible football. I can close my eyes today and I can see Mike Singletary and Otis Wilson and Wilbur Marshall and Richard Dent and Steve McMichael and Dan Hampton and Fridge Perry. I can see all 7 of them like they're right here. You know why? Because all day, this is where they were. They were in my grill the entire day. Unbelievable football team. But hey, we have a 10-point lead on the Chicago Bears. We'd kick the ball away from Willie Gault 3 times, fastest man in football. Now we're going to kick the ball to Willie. Standing on the sideline, ball goes through the air. Willie catches it and starts to run. I'm going, whoa, look at Willie run. Whoa, look at Willie really run. Oh, Willie's in our end zone, touchdown. Scores 10-7. But the guy that kicks off for us is also our punter. He tears a thigh muscle. We don't have a punter. Coach Gibbs is walking around going, what am I going to do? I thought, what a great opportunity in life. How hard can it be to punt? You drop the ball, you raise your foot, boom, piece of cake. So I walked up to Coach Gibbs. I said, Coach, you looking for a punter? He says, yeah, I don't know what to do. I said, I can punt. He said, you can what? I said, I can punt. How hard can it be? I'll drop the ball, raise my foot. Pow! Hope they can run that far. He says, fine, next time we punt, you punt. I go running on the field. I'm no longer Joe Theismann quarterback. I'm Joe Theismann punter. We get the ball on the 13-yard line, run a running play, gain 2 yards, second down and 8 from the 15. I look to the sidelines and coach is signaling in a pass. He's going, he wants me to throw. I'm thinking, great. Chances are I'm not going to complete this because I have a personal relationship with the punter. So I take the snap from center, drop back, pick out a kid in the 3rd row, woo, into the stands. Darn shucks, incomplete. 3rd and 8 wants me to throw again. Well, I can't throw this one in the stands, so I bounce this one in the ground because I still have that relationship with the punter. All of a sudden, it's 4th down. Ball's at a 15-yard line. Offense runs off the field. Kicking team runs on. My teammates are going, Joe, kick it right, kick it right. I'm going, just get it back here. No problem whatsoever. I'm standing on the goal line at Soldiers Field. Ball's on a 15-yard line. I'm going like this. Mom, look at me. I'm a punter in the National Football League. How great is this? All of a sudden, I call for the snap. Ball hits my hand. Have you ever had your world go into slow motion? The instant that ball touched my hand, the roar of the crowd, whoa, and I'm thinking, kick the ball right, drop the ball, raise my foot, pow, ball goes spiraling through the air, hung in the air, 16 yards. I'm back 15. That's right, you're being addressed this morning by a record holder in the National Football League. I hold a record for the shortest net punt in the history of the National Football League. You ever watch guys run down the field and cover kicks? My guys are looking for the ball. They got no clue where this thing went. I saw it go over the Bear bench, so I give it the old cursory jog. I start walking back. 6 Chicago Bears come up to me. Way to go, Joe Babes. Can't wait for you to kick it again. Go get him, pal. Now, people come up to me, you know what, Theismann, you were a failure as a punter. Ha! I've never had a failure in my life. Just an educational experience that did not go my way. I'm a cup half full guy. I'll quote another momism to you. My mom used to tell me this all the time. Joey, you go look for the good in people, you're probably going to find it. Conversely, son, you go look for the bad in people, probably going to find that too. I just soon go look for the good in people. Goals and attitudes are something we have to have. Now, your members are really, I guess you call them customers to a degree. I guess that's be the best way to describe it. And there's this people-people relationship situation. In business, hard business, they call it customer service. But really what it is, it's just people-people relationships. I tell individuals all the time. I tell organizations all the time. If I walked into any locker room, National Football League, Major League Baseball, WNBA, it doesn't matter. I could tell you in a half an hour whether that team has a chance to be successful or not, just by the interaction of the individuals. I can do the same thing in an office. How does it feel? What's the vibe in there? There's something real about that. It's little things like that. I remember when I got in the restaurant business I had a place in Falls Church for the first one I had. Now I just have one in Alexandria, Virginia. So if any of you want to stop down, it's got a simple name to it. It's called Joe Theismann's. Love to have you stop in. But when I first got in the business, a buddy of mine gave me a little plaque, and he said, you know, Joe, when you think about business in this regard, really think about this little saying. And as time has gone on, it's much more than just a business saying. I think it applies to our lives and our relationships with one another. And it goes like this. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I know how much all of you care because you give yourself unselfishly to help other people, to do things as civil servants, which is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it's just, I'm so honored and proud to be here with you today in a present capacity and also, like I say, streaming online. But it's those little things that matter so much, those relationships that we have, that we're able to develop and grow with. And then we always are a part of a team. Whether you're a part of a family, whether you're a part of an athletic team, whether you're part of a business team, you're always a part of a team. Love that little acronym, TEAM. Together, everyone achieves more. Individuals committed to a common goal. That's what teams are. I think of Coach Gibbs. I asked him one day, I said, what do you look for in a championship player, Coach? After all, he's had 3 world championships. He was getting ready for his 3rd, as a matter of fact. So what do you look for in a championship player? Please note, I didn't ask him what he looked for in a player. I'm not interested in average. Average does not appeal to me. Why just be average? Why not be exceptional? Why not be unique? Why not be above the fray? So I said, what do you look for? He said, I look for 3 things. Character, intelligence, and ability. I said, come on, Joe, everybody wants those 3 things. He says, no, that's the order in which I look for them. Character first. We're going to go through some tough times. We're going to go through some tough times. And it's important that I have the right kind of charactered individuals. Intelligence. You see the wristbands the quarterbacks wear? There's about 500 plays on there. They change them, 100 of them on a weekly basis. You can't be stupid and play the game. Oh, and then, by the way, the ability they have. How fast are they? How strong are they? The physical abilities are third. Character is first. Intelligence is second. Their physical abilities are third. That's what he looked for. And then there was another coach by the name of Al Saunders, head coach of the San Diego Chargers, 5-time offensive coordinator, National Football League. I asked Al one day, what do you look for in a championship player? He said, I want to know if they're members of the Able family. I said, Able family? Yeah. Are they available? Are they reliable? And are they accountable? Are they available? Do they show up? One of my biggest pet peeves is this. Anybody who is late for a meeting is basically saying to everyone else, I don't need to be there. I'm better than you are. I used to get so upset. Matter of fact, it's probably because of my life in football. If I wasn't in my chair in a meeting room 10 minutes before the meeting time, I was late. It's just the way and you know what? It cost me money if I was late. So, I mean, being on time, it's not that hard. You know, the excuse is like, you know, I live out in Leesburg, Virginia. You know, I could have come down and oh, geez, you know, I'm sorry I'm 15 minutes late. I got stuck in traffic. No. You know how you get, you know the reality is? Go to an airport. I'd rather be an hour and a half early than 1.5 minutes late. The worst feeling you have, and all of us is fun. You get, you're running, you're headed for the gate, and all of a sudden you see that door start to close. And then now you got to pull into that Olympic style of yours and get that straight out there. But be available, be reliable. I ask you to do a job, do a job. If you can't do it, it's on me, but at least try. And be accountable. Be accountable. If something goes wrong, it's not somebody else's fault. Fix it. Take the responsibility. Say, I'll take care of it. I'll get it done. And then I'll never forget another thing about Joe and being part of a team. He was inducted into the Ring of Honor. The Hall of Fame. We were inducted in the Ring of Honor, but he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I remember sitting right where you are, Joe, because I'm not going to get in the Hall of Fame. I'm worried about that. But Coach got to mention my name because I was his longest tenured quarterback. So I go to his induction. I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden he gets to a part of his speech, and he says, there's 2 people in particular I want to thank. I'm thinking, this is it. This is my moment. This is. I mean, it's got to be John or Art or Daryl or me. You ever have a me moment? This was my me moment. And Joe gets up and he says, there's 2 people in particular I really want to thank. Otis Wansley and Reggie Branch. Thank you for giving me the ability to be there. And I sat and I looked and I went, what? And you know, for like a month and a half, 2 months, I walked around and said, man, I can't believe it. And then it hit me and I was so embarrassed. Yeah, we have guys that play 65 plays. We have guys that are all pros. But what Coach was saying is that every member of that team, whether you played 1 play or whether you played 65, Otis played 5 or 6, Reggie played 5 or 6. It didn't matter. Without them, he wouldn't be there. And so as leaders, as leaders, as individuals, as yourselves, recognize those people around you. I ask corporate people all the time, who's the most important person in the company? CEO, founder? How about the person that answers the phone? How important is that individual to every organization? Let that person know how special they are. Some of you out there may be in that capacity. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. So that's all being part of a team. I think it's integral to be able to do the things. And I was very fortunate to play on a football team. It was just an incredible group of guys. We had a lot of fun. I called the group that I played with characters with character. If you lined all of us up on one side of the road and said, I want you to get to the other side of the street, some of us might walk between the white lines, not me being one of them. Somebody would wait till the traffic started to flow, and then we dodge traffic. Others might find some maybe wires that were connected and try and get over that way. Characters with character. Those are the people that you want. And when it came down to delivering, there wasn't one of them that said, oh man, don't throw me the ball. Oh, don't hand me the ball. Oh, don't ask me to block for this very important situation. Everybody said, put it on me. That's when you know you have a successful team, when you have a successful organization, and that's what you have. You have leadership in the board and leadership inside the organization that says, put it on us. You could see through the presentation, the way it was done. Well thought out. That's special. That's special. And then how do we get motivated to do the things in our lives? How do you get motivated to do the things in our lives? I drive my wife nuts. As you can tell, I have a little bit of energy. My feet hit the floor in the morning, I'm gone. I can't wait to see what's out there in the world. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to attack it. I'm going for it all the way. That's just who I am. It's my nature. It's the way I've been since I was a little kid. Just head on out and go do something. So I love it. Competition. We all compete whether we want to recognize it or not. We compete. If you and I are at a red light together, you're in one car, I'm in another car, we're the first two cars at the light, it's on. Okay, it's on. I'm going to beat you off the line. It's just the nature. Am I right, Tony? Hey, I've been watching you drive. That's the whole thing. Yeah. It's just who you are. You love to compete. And pride. Pride in who we are. Pride in who we represent. WAEPA does so much good. You as individuals do so much good. Take pride in that. There's a little saying I'm going to share with you in a second, but it's about Mark Mosley, our kicker. Mark Mosley, only kicker in the history of the National Football League, I believe, to be an MVP of the National Football League. 1982, the year we won the World Championship. We would not have had a chance to even be there had it not been for Mark. But we're getting ready to play the Philadelphia Eagles. Cold, miserable, rainy day, 1983. Raining outside. Mark is standing in front of the mirror, fixing his hair. He's fixing his hair. And I walked up and said, hey, Mark, how's it going? He said, yeah, it's going good. I said, you ready today? He said, yeah, I felt really good out there and warm, so I feel like I'm really kicking. I said, you plan on wearing a helmet today? Oh, I'm going to wear a helmet. So why are you fixing your hair? Without ever taking his eyes off the mirror, he said, Joe, I'm proud of who I am and I'm proud of who I represent. Now hand me that hairspray. And that's always stayed with me. I'm proud of who I am and I'm proud of who I represent. Be proud of who you are. You represent yourself. You represent an organization. You represent your families. Be proud of that. Recognition. We all love a pat on the back. That's who we are. That's our soul. Our soul says thank you. Tell me thank you. A compliment you can pay to someone. A pat on the back to let somebody know they've done a good job. John Riggins, Joe Theismann were inducted into the Ring of Honor at RFK Stadium, 1992. Johnny had been retired 6 years. I'd been retired 7. Our names were going up on plaques. I'm standing out on the 50-yard line in my suit like a broken-down old football player should be. John's supposed to be standing next to me, but he's not. Now, we've lost John from time to time. Quite the character, to be honest with you. Unbelievable guy. But he wasn't there. And then all of a sudden, the crowd starts to get a little restless. And then they start to clap. And then they start to cheer. And all of a sudden, out of our locker room comes John Riggins in full battle regalia. He's got the giant shoulder pads, the giant thigh pads, the 44 jersey, the helmet under his arm. He comes running out. The place is going nuts. People scream, yell, cheer, and going crazy. Johnny comes up and he stands next to me. I looked at him. I said, John, you really are something. He says, yes, I am, aren't I? Then I asked him my second favorite word. Why, John? And you know what he said? I had to hear it one more time. 6 years had gone by. Nobody had made that, whoa, that diesel sound when he ran. Nobody had cheered for John. He didn't have to come out. After we beat the Minnesota Vikings in a championship, in a playoff game, John came out. He rushed for 170 yards. He stepped out onto the field about 4 yards, and he took a bow. That was JR. So recognition. Let your family members know they're special. Let the kids know that they're special, because they are. They're precious as gifts from the good Lord. Our children are the most precious things in the world. They are your legacy. They are yours. And you give them every chance to be as successful as possible. But people say, and I say, I think the greatest motivator of all is one simple thing. People say money. No. Money's a byproduct of loving what you do and being good at it. Fear is the greatest motivator of all. Now, this room isn't quite 40 yards long, but picture about 40 yards. Reggie White, God rest his soul, the great Green Bay Packer and Philadelphia Eagle, and now that Tennessee beat Alabama, the University of Tennessee grad. I get to put that in now because I was in Nashville the other day. Right? So Reggie runs a 40-yard dash, 6'6", 315 pounds. Runs a 4.6-second 40-yard dash. Suffice to say, that's fast. Joe Theismann runs that same distance, 5 seconds flat. Common sense is telling you if Reggie's chasing Joe, he's going to catch him. I'm telling you, not if fear's a motivator. I can run 4.5, and I have. Last little story I'd like to share with you, and then we'll have any questions if anybody has any. I flew into Buffalo, New York one night, checked into a hotel, asked a young lady at the desk, I said, ma'am, I'll go get something to eat. She said, across this field's an all-night diner. I said, great. I started out into the night, looked back, I saw her smiling face. I thought, wow, she's done something nice for somebody. She feels good about it. That wasn't the case at all. She sent this idiot out across a graveyard, and she's laughing at me. Hello, stupid football player. You guys really are dumb. I can't believe it. All of a sudden, I'm walking along, and bang, I fell in a grave. I'm digging. I can't get out. Now, the analytical mind of the quarterback starts. It's 4 a.m. It's pitch dark. I'm in the middle of a graveyard. Logical conclusion. If I start yelling for help, who in their right mind is going to come and save me? Nobody. But if I crawl over in this corner, throw a coat over myself, wait till daylight, scream like heck, maybe someone will come. I'm laying there. About 15 minutes goes by. Bang! Another guy falls in over there. He doesn't see me lying down over on this side of the grave. He's digging. Finally, he throws his hands in the air. He says, by golly, I'll never get out of here. I said, I felt the same way. You've never seen anybody motivated like that in your life. One step, he was gone. It looked like a Michael Jordan silhouette. Out of there, okay? So I don't know. I don't know what flips your switch. I don't know what gets you going. But something has to get you excited about living life. And go after it with everything you have. Life is meant to be lived. Life is meant to be enjoyed. Life is meant to be shared. Life is meant to make other people's lives better. I got caught up in a syndrome, okay, where I thought that I should be served. That's not the way it works. And you do it all so well. Life is about serving others. Leadership is making sure that everybody that you lead has a chance to be successful. That's what life's all about. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for giving me a chance to spend some time with you this morning. Thanks to everybody out there. Go get another cup of coffee. Thank you. We're fine with runners. We're okay. We don't need the mics for runners. I think, all 7 of us that are here will be all right. Thank you, though. We're good. Appreciate it. Anybody have any questions? Yes, Joel.
Stream, sir. Need the mic for the streaming.
I'm sorry. We need the mic for streaming. My bad. I was going to repeat the question, but technologically, we have to do it correctly.
I was hoping you might get into this, and you didn't, but you know how young people emulate athletes.
Yes.
Well, I was a young person, and I emulated you, and I want to ask you a question, the story behind this, if there is one. I have 2 older brothers. I have 1 younger brother. Everybody in the neighborhood was bigger than I was, but I had to have the helmet that Joe wore, and it's a single bar.
My single bar?
Single bar. I got to know why. Because, look, you're a handsome man, and you played NFL football. I am not. And I had the big ones of the neighborhood, so tell me why.
I got to tell you, Dr. John Riddick in Memphis, Tennessee, is my dentist. Cosmetic dentistry is a wonderful thing, okay? I got my teeth knocked out, so John did it. The reason I wore the single bar is twofold. Number one, I wore a double bar when I first came to town. I actually wore a double bar when I was in Toronto for a little while as well, when I played the Canadian Football League. When I handed off, the double bars, the more you play the game, the more you find things that bother you. When you put your helmet on for the first time or your uniform on for the first time, you put the full pads on, then all of a sudden you start shaving things off and you think it's going to make you faster. Well, the double bar started to bother me when I handed off. And Billy Kilmer and Sonny Jurgensen both wore single bars. Now, what would I have looked like had I worn a double bar and Billy and Sonny didn't? It's sort of like peer pressure to a degree, and the other one was visual. But that's why I wore the same. As a matter of fact, I was the last active player, other than a kicker, that was grandfathered in to be able to wear the single bar. And 7 broken noses, multiple teeth. Poof. Matter of fact, 1982 against the Giants, last game of the season. It's a kick that Mark made, a kick that won the game. Middle of the first quarter, I get my front teeth knocked out. So I walk over to the sidelines, and I got my teeth, spit my teeth out. I'm standing there with Joe, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, your teeth are knocked out." I said, "Yeah, look, they're right here." And he said, "Well, I'm going to get Jay." I said, "No, I can call signals. I can do that. I get no problem whatsoever. I can say hut, 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 no problem." So anyway, the single bar really got me a lot, I can tell you that. Anybody else? I wish we could get to the streamers out there, but think of a question someday and send it to me. Anybody else have a question? Seriously? All right. Yes, sir.
Was there a single event?
Hold it. We got to let the world know.
Was there one single event in your life that made you think about giving back to others? Was it one event, or was it just a progression of life events?
Actually, I'm glad you asked that question. No one's ever asked that. It was one particular event. My daughter, Amy, who would have been 50, lost her 7 years ago. When she was a baby, she was born with an atrial septal defect, a hole between the upper 2 chambers of her heart. Did not know that. Took her to Johns Hopkins, took her to the Children's Hospital Medical Center here in Washington, D.C., which to me is the most incredible place in the world. I was on the board when we built the new one. The old one was down on 13th Street down here in D.C. Anybody that's lived here long knows it was down there. But my daughter had open heart surgery. And again, I held the game of football above everything else, above my family, above my faith, above my friends, everything. Football was everything for me. I wanted everything I could get out of the game of football. And then this happened to Amy Lynn. And I remember, I'll never forget going down to that hospital and driving down there and going every day to see him. They had the air conditioning units were taped in with tape. There were chairs that were just hard as impossible to be in the rooms. But yet, there was so much love. There was so much care by the staff, by the doctors, by everybody that was there. It opened my eyes to the fact that there are many more important things in life than just going out and throwing a football. And Dr. Frank Midgley was the doctor that performed her surgery, her open heart surgery. Amy went on to be a Olympic. She had a horse. I bought her a horse. She was an equestrian jumper. If anybody knows anything about horses, 17 and a half hands. Horse's name was General Lee Bad, which fit her perfectly. But I'll never forget shaking Dr. Frank's hands, Midgley's hand, and it was cold steel. And I didn't know what to, please, good luck. Thank you so much. And then I remember walking into her recovery and looking at my little girl, tubes all over her, a mask on her face, and she looked up at me. And she said, "Daddy." And if I can think of a moment in my life that changed the perspective for me, and I got away from it again, but at that moment, it really changed my life, because that's what's important. My little girl, not all the other stuff. That's why family is so important. And we're all blessed. I think if you have children, you know what I mean. You just, protect them, love them, care about them, because there's nothing worse than losing one, I can tell you that. But that particular moment, I think, really opened my eyes a lot. Excuse me, but unbelievable. Thank you. Anybody else got one? Yes. Streamer.
Mr. Theismann, after COVID-19, we all have seen working from home, reprioritizing our lives. What do you think makes humans want to be the best? What do you think, where does that drive comes from?
Some don't. Interestingly enough, I think some people are very happy being average. I'm not. I think there's a drive. I think there's a competitive aspect to us to want to improve. We not only compete with other individuals, like I used to look at Joe Montana and Dan Fouts and Roger Staubach. I used to look at their stats. We compete against ourselves. How much better can you be as a person? Those are the ones that are going to drive you forward. If you just wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to go through the day, from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, I'm just going to move along. I think from a human nature standpoint, we're all different. Everybody's different. That's why you have people that excel, and that's why you have people that aren't. I mean, it's just that differentiates, I think, things in society. Those that excel are willing to go forward and compete with themselves and be as good as they can be. I don't need you to compete against me. I want to be the best I can be. And you take guys that have won world championships. You know, Tom Brady's won 7 world championships. After he wins 2 or 3, where's the competition? Who's he competing against? He's competing against himself. It's the same thing, like I say, with Troy and Terry and those that have won. Eli and Peyton, both the Mannings have won too. You're competing against yourself. So where does it come from? I really don't know, to be honest with you. I think it's inside all of us. Some people are content being average. I am not. That does not feel good to me. It's not something I care about. But from a human nature standpoint, I think all of us have to decide inside ourselves what's going to drive us to go forward. Yes. Yes, Tony? Over here? I'm sorry, there you are. Excuse me.
I'm about 30 feet away from you, and I'm quite impressed by the dazzle of your rings.
Oh, you mean these humble little pieces of jewelry I'm wearing? Yes, these are world championship rings. The one on my right is from Super Bowl 17. The one on my left is from Super Bowl 18. Story to them. My whole life's like a story. The one on my right hand is from a strike year. We didn't play 7 games that year. We were 12-1 in that season. We were short on the season. But that represents a group of men and an entire organization that dedicated itself to winning. And Coach Gibbs was an incredible leader of ours. I mean, we won it the second year when Coach was in. And I look at that ring and I ask myself the question, why? Why was I lucky enough to be a part of that championship football team? Because we had an unselfish group of men who didn't care who got the credit. Whether John got a touchdown, whether Mark kicked a field goal, whether Art caught a pass, whether Darrell intercepted, it didn't matter. We won. And in 1983, this is the NFC Championship ring. Both teams that play in Super Bowls get rings. One denotes the conference that you represent, and the other is the World Championship ring. And I look at that one, I think, why? Same question. Why was I lucky enough to be a part of this football team? 1983 Washington football team. 16-2 going into the Super Bowl. Lost 2 games that year. 48-47 to the Green Bay Packers, 31-30 to the Dallas Cowboys. And why? You know, why were we so good? We were the best team. We were one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the history of the game. Scored 541 points. At that time, it was a record. Went down to Tampa to play at that time, Los Angeles Raiders. I'd already had my ring. I was a Super Bowl champion. So I was going to enjoy the Super Bowl experience. The first one, it was a week. Now, I didn't go out to dinner. I just focused on football. Second one, I had 2 weeks. Went out to dinner, did radio shows, TV shows. Final score of Super Bowl 18, Raiders 38, Washington 9. Because I believe this. I played a bad football game. Because I look at that ring and I think, sometimes when you think you're really, really good, maybe you're not quite as good as you think you are. I lived on yesterday's performance. That's something we can't do. So that was another great lesson to me, is don't live on yesterday's performance. I mean, you look at the increases that have happened in what you're doing in WAEPA. You look at the increases, you know, the premiums that are coming in, the ability to be able to give people back money. Incredible things that are happening. So that's why I wear them. Plus, people like you say, hey, they're really nice. And to be honest with you, in this light, they really shine pretty good. I mean, these are like, you know, you go into a jewelry store, it's like there's not a bad piece of jewelry till you get it home. And it's under like house lights, and you go, what happened to the glitter of that thing? I don't know what happened to that thing there. Yes.
Mr. Theismann, Brandon Jones here. Quick question. So just want to say your energy is motivating and inspiring, and I think to all of us, both here and in live stream. But I want to ask you a question about, was there ever a moment when you were playing or in business where you lost your confidence? And then what type of exercises mentally, physically, spiritually did you do to overcome that?
You know, have I ever lost my confidence? I think we all lose our confidence at times. I guess you have to figure out where it comes from first. And really, for me, the confidence came when I was a young kid growing up. Like, I lived 2 blocks from my high school. I was always involved in athletics. We never locked the door. We hardly closed the door. You walk out the front door, 2 blocks up, I was at a field. My mom needed me. She stepped on the front porch, go, Joey, come on home. Okay, fine, come home for dinner. I used to play up in my age. In other words, if I was 12, I played with people that were 15. When I was 15, I played with them when they were 18. So I was always, my level of competition athletically was always pushed to be in that group. And when you enjoy success or you have some degree of success, you get confident about things. But I've had situations, I've had business situations where I just wasn't sure. I didn't have the confidence to be able to do it. I've never stepped on a football field not believing that we were going to win. But then the moment would change sometimes, and it's like, okay, now you have to go this way. People say, Joe, you're such an up person. You're always going like this. Do you ever have a bad day? Yeah, I have peaks and valleys like everybody else. I just choose not to stay in the valley. I mean, confidence is something that has to come. A big part of confidence is one simple thing: preparation. If you prepare properly, you can walk into any situation and feel confident. Now, it may not go that way. That's why they call audibles. Okay, that's a simple explanation. That's where you sort of morph into a little bit of a different direction. But if you prepare yourself properly, you can deal with any situation. That's, to me, I believe, the essence of confidence. And so I've had, like I said, that Super Bowl. It wasn't that I wasn't confident. I didn't prepare. I just didn't prepare properly. And the result, sort of taught me a big lesson. Anybody? That it? Well, Terry, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Stacy, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks to everybody out there. We're live streaming. Everyone here, thank you.